be discussing important U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, requirements for the administration of our CDBG program. This includes the review of the 5-year consolidated plan and annual plan process, and understanding how those plans impact the selection of CDBG activities. Most importantly, we will discuss the county CDBG program, including eligibility, program requirements, and an overview of the application process and timeline. And lastly, of course, we will close with a Q&A. So our county CDBG program is governed by what is called the Consolidated Plan, which is developed every 5 years. The primary purpose of the Consolidated Plan is to, 1, identify the housing and community development needs in the county's jurisdiction through market analysis, community input, and stakeholder consultation. And 2, strategically establish new 5-year goals that address the community's priorities
I could find way better.
and explore potential federal, state, and local funding sources that could be leveraged with HUD entitlement funding. The county's current consolidated plan covers a 5-year period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2029. For each year of the consolidated plan, HCDS develops the annual plan strategy, and it's too long, so we refer to that as community needs and priorities so that the county can, 1, identify the most appropriate HUD entitlement program funding, if applicable, to help address those community needs. And 2, the strategy also serves as a roadmap for the development of the upcoming annual action plan, as it reflects the community input received through a comprehensive community engagement process. The 26-27 proposed strategy is drafted and will be available for public review and feedback the first week of October. This proposed strategy will also be presented to the Board of Supervisors during the November 4th public hearing. So I do encourage folks to listen in for that. Next, we have our annual plan. Our annual plan is submitted to HUD each year and details how the county will spend entitlement program funds, as well as identifies projects and activities for the upcoming fiscal year that will address the community needs and work towards accomplishing the 5-year consolidated plan goals. It provides transparency to the community and accountability to HUD. Our CDBG applications that are submitted within this cycle will be included within the 26-27 annual plan and also be presented before the board sometime spring of 2026. Lastly, our CAPER. Our CAPER details our outcomes and accomplishments from the previous year. I like to think of our CAPER as our annual checkup or check-in to ensure that we're working towards meeting those 5-year strategic goals. Our most recent 24-25 CAPER is available on our HCDS website now for public comment. Next slide. Okay, our current consolidated plan goals, supports public investments in 3 strategic areas. First, affordable housing opportunities. Investments in affordable opportunities, investments in housing options that both expand the affordable housing stock ability, supporting housing stability among the region's most vulnerable populations by supporting programs across the homeless and housed continuum. And 3, quality of life, ensuring public investments work to improve the quality of life throughout communities by means of improving access to vital services, community infrastructure, and community economic development opportunities. All projects utilizing entitlement funding must have alignment to support one of these three goals. I will repeat. All projects utilizing entitlement fundings must have alignment to support one of these three goals. Okay, very good. I'm going to take a moment to take a sip of water, and I encourage folks to go ahead and type in any questions they have before we move into our CDBG program overview. All right. So CDBG, as indicated by HUD, the CDBG program aims to develop viable urban communities by providing decent housing, a suitable living environment, and by expanding economic opportunities for low and moderate income residents. The county receives approximately 4.3 million in CDBG funds last year. CDBG funding can be used for a variety of purposes, including housing acquisition and rehabilitation, certain public services and public infrastructure projects, and economic development. It's important to note that all CDBG funded projects must primarily benefit low and moderate income individuals and families. A few examples are public facility and improvements. This includes both the construction and rehabilitation of improvements for public or nonprofit entities. For example, enhancements to streets and sidewalks, the improvement or construction of parks, updates to community centers, and renovations to libraries. These types of projects help improve the quality of life in our community. CDBG funds can also be used to support nonprofit infrastructure, like the installation of solar panels or an ADA accessible ramp for a nonprofit facility. Another example is removal of architectural barriers, such as the installation of a curved ramp, making a sidewalk more accessible for everyone. CDBG also supports public services. This includes a wide range of activities such as employment programs, crime prevention initiatives, childcare services, health and nutrition programs, legal assistance, education and housing services, and many more. It is also important to note and to understand that only up to 15% of the total county's HUD allocation can be used for public services, which for those of you taking notes is less than 650,000 for all our public services combined, making this activity more competitive during the application process. I'll pause here and also repeat, making this activity more competitive during all for our application process. All right, last but not least, we have the economic development. So eligible projects might include grants or loans to help build capacity for small businesses, job training programs, and provide technical assistance to entrepreneurs. Please note that economic development projects have additional reporting requirements in comparison to the other eligible activities. I highly encourage all of those interested in this activity to review our HUD guidelines prior to submitting their CDBG application. Okay, now although our CDBG program cannot be used to develop new affordable housing, it can, however, be used to buy already existing housing, buy land for the development of housing, or repairs to existing housing. It's also very important to note that all of the affordable housing activities are supported through loans and not grants. For this reason, housing activities are accepted under the Affordable Housing NOFA, Notice of Funding Availability. And as you can see, the CDBG is a very flexible and powerful tool that helps address a wide range of community needs goals of supporting, of course, low and moderate income residents. All right. So all CDBG projects must be located in the urban county, which includes the unincorporated area. And these six small cities, that would be the city of Coronado, Del Mar, Imperial Beach, Lemon Grove, Poway, and Solano Beach. The smaller cities receive a portion of CDBG funds and determine how they would like to see these funds invested. I do want to note the larger cities in the region administer their own CDBG program. So it's a good first step to determine your service area to make sure that the county CDBG program is the best choice. And again, the priority for the county is to use funds on the urban county. Next slide. Right. CDBG projects must primarily benefit individuals who earn less than 80% of the area median income, in other words, low moderate income, also referred to as LMI. It is necessary to determine who your project will benefit. There are a few ways projects can meet the LMI requirement. One, as an area benefit activity, which means it benefits all residents in a particular area where at least 51% of the residents are LMI persons. This is determined through census tract data. Or two, limited clientele activities. A limited clientele activity does not look at the LMI concentration of an area of service, but rather the actual people that will be benefiting from this activity. Basically, activities in this category provide benefits to a specific group of persons rather than everyone in the area, such as the Ramona Community Center, which serves seniors and youth. Under this criteria, 51% of the beneficiaries of this activity must be LMI persons. Additionally, some groups of people are considered presumed eligible. This means um, income documentation is not required. These include, to name a few, survivors of domestic violence, people over the age of 62, persons experiencing homelessness, adults with severe disabilities. And finally, a job training program that creates or retains permanent jobs may qualify if it serves at least 51% of those, or um, job training programs that create or retain permanent jobs may qualify if at least 50% of those jobs are made available to low income persons. Now, there are several activities that are simply not eligible under CDBG. So any activity or project that is working to support a government building for the purchase of equipment, so anything that can be taken in and out of a structure is not eligible. Any repairs or maintenance expenses is not eligible. Political activities, or if an activity just does not meet the HUD national objective or eligibility criteria. Now, there are also many federal regulations that may be followed by CDBG subrecipients as a requirement by HUD. And here we're just listed a few. So some of these regulations are project specific depending on the nature of the project. For example, projects that include construction require prevailing wage requirements, labor compliance regulations, and are subject to additional reporting and monitoring. An excellent guide for these projects is found with Playing by the Rules, and this resource will be shared following this session, where it will cover all of the HUD federal requirements for each of these specific activities and more. Okay, CDBG funded projects must also adhere to strict federal expenditure requirements. Viable projects will show that they are in a position to expend funds timely, responsibly, and have capacity to meet all program requirements. projects that receive CDBG funding will be assigned a county contracting officer representative or CORE who will help with ensuring that all program goals, expenditures, and funding requirements are met in compliance. And this is done through vigorous monitoring and contract oversight as required by both HUD and the county's Department of Agency Contract Support. All right, I hope folks are still fired up. We're now going to transition into our actual application process. All right. So it's very similar to last year. So we are administering all of our applications through an online process. This process, I do want to note, does not allow you to save your progress. So we have created some tools to help guide you in the preparation. So this is a very self-guided online application. On the left, you will see all of the links to the resources that you will need to complete this application. So you'll have the templates to all of these questions in advance. You'll have a guidebook to help you make sure you're answering each of the sections and categories appropriately. We did include some budget templates that you will be required to attach, as well as a conflict of interest form. In the case you have any issues, we do have a contact number and an email here where you can let us know at any time if you're experiencing any difficulties with this process. And so here you'll see at the very top, you'll self-identify as to which CDBG application best um, fits with your organization. So here the example is a nonprofit organization, and then it went ahead and it populated all of the questions applicable for that application. So there's a general information section. There is a project overview section, organizational capacity section, and then an expenditure section as well. Some supplemental information that is required for our nonprofit organizations. And then at the end, there's a list of attachments that are required. You'll go ahead and attach all of these. We ask that you use the naming convention that's on the actual application guide. And you'll just drop those right into your online application at the very bottom, right here. Um, you shouldn't experience any issues. We did do a little test drive, so it will hold all of the 10 attachments that are listed here. But again, should you have any challenges, reach out and we'll make sure to assist you right away. I do want to show you the resource of our template. So our template here is essentially the online application. And it has all of the questions. And this will help you in the preparation so you can kind of prepare your responses and make sure all of your attachments include and cover all of the questions that we are kind of seeking for. And it also has the naming convention for your attachments, just to make life easier for everybody. And so you'll see here a list of the attachments and the naming convention on the left side. And we also included helpful links so you could have instant access to either HUD regulations or the GIS mapping tools. So we're hoping that will help guide folks as they build their applications. And another great resource is our guide. And so what this does, we'll just kind of show the table of contents here. It will cover all of the high level items to ensure that your project is meeting all of the required eligibility criteria. So I do encourage folks prior to even completing online application, take a look at this guide, review all of the requirements for the project eligibility, location, make sure that your activity is not on an eligible activity list, and then be sure to review all of the record keeping and monitoring that is required. Oftentimes, folks may not be aware of all of the very administrative, kind of heavy requirements that CDBG entails. So you want to make sure to review that, and that will help you ensure that CDBG is the most appropriate funding source. And then last but not least, we do have two resources as templates. So this one here is the budget, and we will go ahead and ask that you use this template, and it is a required attachment, as well as the conflict of interest form. And so you want to make sure to review this, sign, and include as an attachment. Again, all of the links that you see here are on the actual online application, as well as on our HCDS website. All right, so now let's transition back to our presentation. Okay, so some quick reminders are applications are due October 31st by 3 p.m. Any late submissions will be deemed non-responsive. So if you are having issues before that 3 p.m. time stamp, you want to go ahead and let us know prior to that, and we'll help to make sure we are working alongside of you to work any challenges out. And in terms of what happens next, the applications will be received and reviewed. You should expect to hear back from us sometime in January or February of 2026 with recommendations. And those recommendations will be presented again before the Board of Supervisors within, it's to be determined, but we're looking at sometime spring 2026. And all approved projects will be approved to start for that next fiscal year in July 1st of 26 through 27. Right. So we will make some time for questions, but I do want to also mention for those that may have some, project specific questions, I will make myself available so we can set up some time within the next couple weeks to really work through some of those technical questions that you may have that are project specific. We are also hosting on October 8th an in-person technical assistance workshop. So for folks that may need a little more time or a thinking partner, this is a really great resource, and it'll be held in person here at our office. And again, at any point, if you have questions, please contact our community development email, and we'll make sure somebody reaches out to you as soon as possible to get you any support that you may need and answer questions you may have. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to take another sip of water, and we'll go up and review some of the questions that came in through the chat. And I see that Rocio has answered some of the questions coming in, so I may transition things over to her. So in case we want to maybe review some of those questions.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rocio Ramirez, and I work with County HCDS as well. There was a question that came in from Sherry Fink. If I'm correct, CDBG is a federally funded through HUD. Given this, will the grant funding be subject to the prohibitions of EO 14168 funding to organizations promoting gender ideology? I ask because our organization supports the LGBT community, including transgender community members. We also support cisgender, straight individuals. This being said, the word transgender is in our organizational name. So would you be prohibiting from awarding us funding? So in our we're still going through our agreements with HUD, and they're updating new regulations. So I will say that we, HUD funding, we have to comply with HUD funding, and so does our subrecipients based on whatever they require us. According to the language in the current agreements, it does say that subrecipients of funds shall not use awarded funds to promote gender ideology. So at this time, the way we understand it is that we wouldn't be awarding funds for that specific type of activity, not necessarily if you get funded and do it separately. So hopefully that answers the question. And then I can go through the questions, Teresa, and maybe you can answer them. Okay. Are there page limits for attachments A through A or G?
Hey, that's a great question. So the limit is 10 attachments, so we're right there at that limit. In terms of file size, the file size is going to be in total 30 MBs. So we didn't have issues when we were doing kind of testing out this process using attachments from last year. So I don't anticipate, fingers crossed, any issues this year. But again, if you are experiencing an issue with, any of your attachments, go ahead and reach out to us, and you can always, as a backup, if it's 258, you can send those via email. We'll make sure to work those issues out. But I don't anticipate any challenges.
The next question on the chat, how can we find or receive a recording of this presentation? And I believe Teresa previously mentioned we'll be sending out an email just with the links. Otherwise, you'll also be finding it in the website, in our HCDS website, where the application is. The link of the recording should be there in the next couple of days. Next question, is a CPA audit required to submit an application?
You do you do have to submit an audit with your application, a full audit. Um, I think our guide will kind of best be your best resource to ensure that what you have kind of meets our requirements. But I can also work with you offline if you have some more specific questions or concerns.
Okay. The next question, can this program be used to clear an area of brush and build a sidewalk near a low-income area, near a school, near a curve in the road that is dangerous or current residents due to lack of sidewalk?
I'm gonna take a note of who wrote that, and I'll reach out to you. It sounds like a very specific area that you're looking at. Um, so I think the best response is I can probably work with you on that offline. It may not necessarily be eligible, but it sounds like with the information you provided, there's kind of a lot to work through there. So as always with CDBG, it's sometimes yes, maybe. And I think, that's the case here. So I will be sure to get your email and reconnect.
Okay, so this is just a concerned resident. Any fix is good to me. So do you want to explain how the resident, Teresa, want to review the resident applications and what that entails?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that question. So we do have an opportunity and a very special application for residents. It will require the same pathway. So you'll go onto that application, online application link, and you'll just self-select resident, and you will see a more simplified version of our application. And the thing to note about our resident applications are these are um, more I want to say suggested projects or suggested services that you're recommending for either your community or a specific group of maybe residents. So we the recommendations into a looking across the board of all of the applications that we received, and of course ensuring making sure that some of those resident applications are also in alignment with our 26-27 strategy and our 25 through 2029 consolidated plan goals. So there does have to be alignment, but we do encourage residents to get involved and make any recommendations for projects and services that they would like to see.
Thank you. And the next question, can this program be used to replace a moving gate that is required so that we remain ADA compliant? This is from Fallbrook Senior Center.
Um, it sounds like that may be burial removal within kind of that category. So I would say, just based off of what I heard, that could be an eligible project if it's removing a barrier.
Next question from Attachment G asks for board member addresses. Does that mean business, residential, or email?
Board member addresses. Does that mean business, residential? Uh, you would likely use your residential and or email, but you are required to put an address, so that would be residential.
If it's for an organization, I would just say put your business address because that's probably if you're submitting on behalf of an agency. If it's related to an individual, then it might be different. If you have a specific question, you can reach out. This is Adam Reed. For the next one, can you confirm that for nonprofit facility improvements, we could fulfill the LMI requirements via area benefit activity if census tract shows supporting data?
Um, Let me reread that question. Can you confirm? I lost it. Um, it's a nonprofit facility improvement. Okay. So, and is the issue that it's not within a census tract area that's 51% LMI potentially? I mean, I guess it would be kind of under the yes maybe category where I'd have to take a look at who are the population being served by that nonprofit organization if it's not this track. So I would more information would be that's a great question for our TA session or for maybe a follow-up conversation.
The next question, is there an anticipated amount available for economic development projects and/or is there a maximum amount we can request?
Well, I will say there is no maximum requirement. Your best tool that I would advise is for folks to look back at prior years' annual plans that were approved by the board. So you could get a sense of, in terms of the funding amount folks were awarded. I think that's the best bet to just see the trends throughout the last few years. But there is no internal, like a maximum set or a minimum.
Next question, I need to double check the census tract map. Oh, it says it's a response to the previous. Okay. So yeah, So I think if you have a very specific question related to a specific activity, just submit your question to that email and then or set some time up with Teresa, and then she can review the requirements needed.
Yeah, it looks like we got a lot of great questions. Many of them were very project specific, so that's why we do have some optional resources just because CDBG is, again, a very powerful and flexible funding source, but it has to really be just right for your organization and for the activity that you are trying to apply for. So um, I do encourage, especially for folks that maybe are a little newer to CDBG, go ahead and we can set up a time in the next week or so to talk some of these projects out in further detail. All right, so I think we might have covered all of the questions in the chat. Do folks have any other questions? They are welcome to unmute at this time. And if not, I hope you all are still fired up for CDBG with thumbs ups. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. We're going to ensure you guys get this PowerPoint along with all of the links to the resources that we discussed today. And our recording will be on our website, so we'll notify you when that's ready. And if there are no other questions, have a wonderful day. And we will see you next time. Thank you all so much.